Okay, and so here's where we left off at the end of the previous lesson. We've been looking at how we use these horizontal lines called measure lines or bar lines just to indicate the way that the beats in this particular piece of music, and in fact every piece of written music, naturally fall into regular groups. And so we saw here, and I hope you agreed when I sang it incredibly badly and clapped along, that the beats in this piece, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, a very famous nursery rhyme, naturally happen to fall into groups of four, and so it was very easy to put them into these 4-beat chunks, or these 4-beat measures. And so in the last lesson I did a bit of experimentation, and I did a bit of singing and clapping, and I found that this particular melody naturally falls into groups of 4 beats. And so, as we see here, we've got 4 groups of 4 beats. This is a 4-bar melody, or a 4-measure melody. So we need to give the player of any piece of music a reasonably good idea as to what they're likely to expect in terms of these groupings of beats. And that's why we use something called a time signature. So let me just write that down. Okay, so we need a time signature, and the point of the time signature is to give us that information about how the beats in this particular piece or melody naturally get grouped together. And I'm going to draw a time signature into this melody that we've already made. So let's do it and see if you can work out exactly what I'm doing. So you'll see this is a number 4, and I'm actually going to put another one down here. Okay, so we've got 2-digit 4s on top of each other here at the beginning of this melody. Now, for a while, we're probably not going to worry too much about the bottom number. That doesn't really matter to us for a while. We'll learn about that in due course. But for the purposes of this video, we're going to look at what happens and why we write different numbers here at the top. So this is the one we're interested in for the course of this lesson, this top number here. And what it's basically telling us is it's telling us that this piece has beats that generally naturally like to be grouped into groups of 4. Now, we might have some different time signatures, so can you guess what these time signatures might mean? Well, this one over here is telling us that in a piece of music where this is written at the start, we're likely to expect the beats of the piece of music to be grouped naturally into groups of 3. And just the same way, this one here is telling us that we might find the beats in a piece of music that has this time signature broken up into groups of 2. Now that might all sound a little bit confusing, but it's much easier for me to show you by playing you some examples of music that might have some of these different time signatures. In other words, pieces of music where the beats naturally fall into groups of 4, and pieces of music where the beats naturally fall into groups of 3, and other pieces of music where the beats naturally fall into groups of 2, demonstrating these different time signatures. Now, it's going to be slightly more difficult to identify where the beats are, and so you might have to listen to me counting along to get used to finding the sort of natural beat of music, because the Twinkle Twinkle Little Star melody was pretty easy for us to follow in terms of the beat, because most of the notes in the melody were also a beat long, so we were counting the beats, and then also the notes of the melody were a beat. Now here the notes are going to be all sorts of different lengths, and there might also be some rests and some other sort of things in the music that help make the rhythm really interesting. But underneath all of that really interesting rhythm will also be this underlying beat, which I'm going to count along to. So the first piece of music I'm going to say has 4 beats in every measure. So let's have a listen. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so let's have a listen to that again, and this time maybe you could count or clap along with me. Let's go! 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And what's quite interesting about this piece is it doesn't actually finish on the first beat of the bar, so we don't have a complete bar at the end. We sort of get a cha-cha-cha at the end. That's fine, we can do that, of course, but underneath, throughout all of the piece, we had this regular repeating pattern of beats, and that's why using a time signature is really useful, and we might have used this 4-4 time signature here with a 4 on the top to indicate that this music has a regularly repeating pattern of beats grouped into 4s. So the next piece of music that we're going to listen to might have a time signature if it was written down of 3-4. basically that means a 3 on the top and a 4 on the bottom. As you remember, we said that if it has a 3 on the top of the time signature, it's telling us that this piece is naturally going to fall into bars or measures containing 3 beats. So the piece of music that we're going to listen to next is called a waltz. Now, a waltz is a special type of dance music, and it's special because it does have this time signature. So we know a piece is a waltz, or is likely to be a waltz, if it's a dance piece of music and it has a time signature with a 3 on the top of it, because the 3 is telling us that it falls naturally into groups of 3 beats, and the waltz, it does exactly that. It's a piece of music with where the beats all fall into 3s, and so you have to use special steps to dance a waltz because it has to fit naturally with the groups of 3 in the music. So let's have a listen and see if we can count along or clap along with the groups of 3 in the music, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to play the example and I'll count along for you to hear. 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. Okay, and now it's your turn. If you'd like to join me, let's have a go together. 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. And so I hope you could imagine people dancing to this piece of music, and the fact that it's in 3 gives it a really special character. Another thing that can really change the character of a piece is the tempo, which we've looked at before. I'd say this was definitely an allegro and possibly even a presto, because it was much quicker than some of the other examples that we've listened to before. Now finally we're going to have a look at one last time signature that might look a little bit like this. This one has a 2 on the top and a 4 on the bottom, and of course the important number here is the 2, and it's telling us that in this piece of music we can kind of expect the natural beat patterns to fall into groups of 2. So instead of going 1, 2, 3, 4 or 1, 2, 3 as we have done already, it's going to be much smaller, quicker groups like 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And so perhaps one of the most obvious uses for a piece where the beats are naturally grouped into 2 is a march. So imagine if you were in an army and you had to get your soldiers to march for 100 miles or whatever, you would need a piece that goes along with their marching of their left and right legs. So it makes a lot of sense to have 2 beats in a bar because you have 1 left leg and 1 right leg, so you can go left, right, left, right, left, right, and then you've basically taken 1 step for every measure in the music. But the march isn't the only type of music that uses this 2 in a bar style of time signature. In fact, there are lots of types of dance music that also finds the 2 beats in a bar kind of feel or character that the music has is really useful and very energetic and lively. So let's have a listen to an example of just that. Okay, here we go. And 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Okay, so you hear that the music's really lively, it's kind of energetic, it feels like you really want to dance to it, and so a lot of music with these 2/4 or 2 in a bar style time signatures really makes us want to dance, and so that's why a lot of composers choose to use them. So let's have one more go, you and I together, and we'll listen to that great piece of music, Hava Nagila, one more time, and we can count the beats in the bar together. Okay? And let's go. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. And you'll see that the music naturally finishes and feels really great at the end of that 2-beat group. Wow, and okay, that brings us to the end of this introduction to time signatures. And if you wanted to do any more work on this, it's actually really, really easy, because all you need to do is, whenever you hear a piece of music, either on the radio or on the TV or anywhere really, you can try and work out what the time signature of that piece is. And you do it exactly the same way as we've just done here, by trying to count along with the music and seeing what fits. So seeing whether counting in groups of 4 seems to fit, seeing if counting in groups of 3 seems to fit, or counting and seeing if groups of 2 seem to fit. Now sometimes it's not all that obvious why one piece would be 4, a group of 4, and one would be a group of 2, because obviously 2 2s are 4, so it's not always so clear, and maybe in the future we'll have a look at some of the ways that can help us tell when it would be a time signature of 2 in a bar and when it would be a time signature of 4 in a bar. So it doesn't really matter if you're successful or not, but it can be really fun to start to think about and try and identify some of these time signatures in the music that we hear.